Reason number 46 to get a Nissan. Features, especially the ones you get with the 2025 Nissan Kicks Play. Integrated Apple CarPlay, a spacious interior, advanced safety features, and more room in your budget. Because it's the most affordable new vehicle in Quebec. Get the 2025 Nissan Kicks Play S from only $22,774, including a $2,600 cash purchase bonus. Visit your Nissan dealer today. Until March 2nd, conditions apply. Details at Nissan.
Goldman Sachs CEO David Solomon is slamming remote work. Called it an aberration just caused by the pandemic. He's ended all COVID restrictions at Goldman Sachs company offices, and the message from him is very clear. Get back to work. And perhaps you've heard of Apple's pleas to coax employees back into the office, or Tesla's Elon Musk sending out company-wide emails saying you all have to be in the office a minimum of 40 hours a week. Well, perhaps what you didn't know is that remote working could actually be harming your work performance in your boss's eyes. There's something called proximity bias, and it suggests that those working from home are not being recognized for the work they produce in the same light as those who come into the office. So could your next career advancement, promotion, be at risk because you have stayed at home? With more, we go to Ajay Pangarkar, workforce performance strategist and an award-winning author. Ajay, welcome back.
Great to be back, Elias. And by the way, I got one word for these guys.
Yeah.
And I shouldn't say just guys. I mean, men and women in leadership positions who think this way. Dinosaurs.
Dinosaurs. Okay.
Yeah.
So dinosaurs, I get that. Now let me throw something else at you, okay?
Sure.
2 employees, okay? Susan and Jenny, okay? 2 employees. Susan comes into the office every day. Mm-hmm. Jenny stays at home. Performance is the same. And then a promotion is up. Who gets the job?
Unfortunately, chances are, which one was in the office, Jenny? Or...
The one, Susan, I don't know. One of them was in the office.
So the chances are, because, and again, I'm going to qualify this, because the leader is a dinosaur, the one that's in the office will probably get the promotion. And it's, again, performance by presence, not performance by objectives. And this is where this outdated thinking is got to stop. I mean, at the end of the day, I know this proximity bias is reality, but stats have shown that managers who look at proximity bias, who say that when you show up in the office, you'll be able to advance yourself better, most of the time don't really recognize that, because people on the other end, so the person, Susan or Jenny, whomever it is, say to themselves, well, I don't feel I'm getting noticed when I'm in the office. And so what is it? I mean, just because they're showing up, you're going to give them a reward? I mean, it's almost like a Pavlov dog theory here. Ring the bell and you'll get a cookie. It's like, no, if you are wise as a leader, you'll recognize that performance is based on outcomes and results. And whomever, whether they're in the office or not, should be rewarded for the work that they do. And so this proximity bias to me is such a 20th century outdated concept that it's, in this new world that we're living, you know how I feel, Elias. I'm not shy about it. But it's so outdated that, when I work with teams, and I work with remote teams constantly around the world, I'm looking at the results that they're producing. Now, don't get me wrong, Elias. I'm not saying that coming in the office is not invaluable. That's another topic for another, well, I shouldn't say another day, but it's another topic that unrelated a little bit to this.
But is it that unrelated? Because let me throw this at you, Ajay. All right. So one of the things, as soon as I could come back into the office, I said, "Get me back in here." Right. Like working from home, I saw how the on-air product suffered, in my opinion, because the stuff that comes when I'm in the office and I can have discussions with producers and technical producers. Just this morning, our team here, right? We're all gathered around for our morning meeting, and we're talking, and there's Jay, and there's Lola, and Dan. Dan's being trained today. And there was one thing that Dan just said in our meeting, and it caused a whole discussion. We came up with a segment out of it, right? And and yesterday after the show, I'm having a post-show meeting, and then a colleague who doesn't even work with us, other department, over at Showm, comes in, bumps into us, boom, new ideas. So actually, the thing where I'll push back is I don't buy that being in the office isn't valuable. Doesn't make you more productive.
No, and that's not what I meant, Elias. What I meant is that I agree with you. There are moments, and this is where we have to rethink the workplace and how we work. There are moments where you do need that social interaction, that collaboration, especially with a super team like a CJAD. You like that plug there? But
yes.
But at the end of the day, you need that collaboration, because when minds come together in the workplace, it's about that. It's about community, collaboration, idea generation, stimulation, and it doesn't mean you have to sit in your cubicle for 6 hours out of the 8 hours and have that 2 hours of interaction with other people. Maybe we should think about, okay, if you have to do your solitary work and, your research or whatever it may be, then you can do that remotely. But if we have to have a developmental meeting or, some idea generation capacity, maybe at least one day a week or a scheduled time where we can get together to meet physically, that would be collaborative. Now, I know that's a tricky thing because ideas can't be scheduled, right? I mean, the discussions you had with the team cannot be scheduled and say, hey, at 9 o'clock we're going to discuss this. You could schedule it, but, Jay or Lola may come up with an idea at 10 o'clock at night later that day, and it's like, okay, when I need to share this with somebody, right? Yeah. So it's a tough position to be in, but the point being is that if it's about just the work itself, then there's no reason to force people to show up in the cubicle to do their work. You get what I'm saying? There's a
totally.
bit of nuance in this.
Totally. Ajay, listen, I have to wrap, but I want to ask you one quick question here. And when it comes to the quote-unquote proximity bias, does age become a factor? Is it different if you're an older employee than a younger employee?
That's a tough question to answer because it depends. I think there is maybe some ageism in place, and the older generations tend to want to show up physically, and they tend to show up physically and try to show that presence because that was brainwashed into us for many years in our careers. And young people think differently. They think, look, I can get the work done in any way possible. I don't need to show up at a physical location to do that. And so there might be a bit of ageism in either a positive or negative way, but it does happen where people who are older tend to be more present and tend to get rewarded a little more because maybe of experiencing gray hairs and stuff
because
like that.
They know about an honest day's work too, Ajay. Ajay, we got to leave it there. Thanks for coming on the program.
Thank you, Elias. Take care.
Ajay Pangarkar, workforce performance strategist.